Okay, let me send this out. But how do I? Oh, there it is. Hello? Oh, hello? Cancel. Okay, I hope you can hear me. I'm not too sure if I got my mic set up. My volume's on. Yes, it's on. Let's share alive. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Okay, it's better. Let me try to invite you again. Invitation sent. There you are. Hello, hello, hello.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you.
Woohoo!
We are live.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me on today.
No problem. Since TikTok is acting weird, I thought we should just go live.
Right?
Got my medicine out, so we're good. I got my eagle feather out, and it's wrapped in the Belizean flag for good luck.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
Um, would you be able to record on your end?
I don't even know how to do that
You
yet.
know how to do that yet? Okay, so I'm like kind of a noob too. But I think I'll be able to get access to this live stream on my end, I think.
Yeah, you have it. I do know that the
Okay.
live does show up and then you have it for like however long.
Oh yeah, so I can use that and I can turn it into like a, I guess, quote unquote, a podcast.
Yeah. You can cut it up and do all sorts of videos and stuff with it. I know you're
And the audio is clear, right? I tried to get the noise canceling one.
Yeah, the audio is really clear. That's awesome.
I'm
That's
like,
a cool background. Oh,
thank
look at
you.
that.
You can tell I worked in academia. I know how to use Canva.
Love that scarf too. That scarf is rocking.
Oh, thank you. I bought it in Morocco. You know, I think it's cultural appreciation. No Moroccans told me yet I shouldn't wear it, so.
Definitely cultural appreciation. Hey, speaking from an indigenous perspective, what's the difference between cultural appreciation and cultural appropriation?
From my perspective, I can only speak as a Micmac Indian. Like for me, a cultural appreciation would be buying beadwork off of an artisan or baskets and appreciating that art, opposed to a cultural appropriation when you have non-indigenous people making beadwork and making it indigenous style. Like they can do beadwork as long as it's like, you know, in their own style, but to center it on a nation's art style, or even basket making. I know a basket maker who says she would never teach anyone who's non-indigenous how to make baskets.
Right?
So that's my, I guess, perception of cultural appreciation and cultural appropriation. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
I got this scarf from Morocco, opposed to, oh, I made this scarf
Right.
myself through my heritage and culture. I'm like, aren't you American?
Right. There's
I got it.
so much cultural appropriation. That's how I started doing this work, was because of cultural appropriation. And like I started like calling out um Euro diaspora women. Like I call them the Euro diaspora women. The Euro diaspora women for yoga. For like going in and like making their whole world about yoga and stuff like that. And um we used to there was a group that we started called Global Decolonization Initiative, and around it was centered around bringing awareness of cultural appropriation and decolonization issues and land back and pretty much a lot of those things. And um, then we then I read that paper called "Decolonization is Not a Metaphor" by Even Tuck, and it was published in 2012. And at first, I read the paper and went, "Oh my God, no! Like I can't read this. It's like so heavy." And then I read it like two more times, and by the third time, I got it. And then we completely changed the group and pulled off all of the like lean towards anti-racism and stuff like that, and made it purely decolonization. Where if there was any countries that were embroiled in decolonization efforts, we focused in on that. But that's far and few between these days right now with all the colonization taking place in our world today.
God.
So
I wish I was sponsored by Big Eight, by the way. The best water in Atlantic Canada.
sponsor Scotty, Big Eight. Sponsor
Hey,
Scotty.
I exclusively drink diet, caffeine free, Big Eight, cola. Not sponsored at all.
Yeah, right.
But thank you for coming on, and I've heard from you because I was on That's Wrong's TikTok, and because I really want to educate myself, and I need to know what goes on, like not just in my territory, but what goes on outside of Mi'kma'ki, because what goes outside of my nation affects my nation, if you know what I mean. Like, for
Hmm.
example, like my nation right now is dealing with 100,000, I should say, aglasio. That's just English for um, English speaker. There's like over 100,000 aglasio in Newfoundland race shifting to be Micmac, even though they aren't Micmac.
Mm.
There's no historical ties. There's no, because we have a Micmac Grand Council that goes back pre Canadian Federation, that goes back like towards like the French Indian Wars in the 1700s. So
Hmm.
like that's our history, and like my people are very Catholic, and it's okay, you know. Like I tell people, I remind them, we're on the East Coast, like we had to survive, to survive. But I'm digressing. I'm trying to get back to where I was going with the point. Oh yeah, when I was watching, when I seen your talk about Taoism, the Pretendianism, and how it just, when I was listening to you talk about Erica Moore and that whole phenomenon, what's going on West, I was like, wow, that's what's happening here in Mi'kma'ki, but also it's happened in Vermont with the Abenaki, and it's also in the States, and it's also the Métis Nation of Ontario, and it's also, and this is Ontario, and it's also the Nunatukavuts in Southern Labrador. We call them Nufitukavuts. And there's just so many groups just popping up everywhere, and it's just like it's so hard to go after one group, because you have to go after them all at once, because there's so many of them, and the best way to do that is with education. And that's why I'm glad you're here to
Yay.
educate Mi'kma'ki on what is Taoism, and like why a 23andMe ancestry DNA test kit does not prove nationhood. We have to remember that as well. Like, nationhood is something that, it's inherent. Like, for me as a Micmac, like, my sovereignty, my unceded citizenship is with my covenant with my creator as a Micmac Indian. And we have our own creation story that ties us to this land. And that's what makes me a sovereign Indian. That's my interpretation. And in everyone else, I see the, I guess, quote unquote magic. But when I run into pretendians, there's no quote unquote magic. And I like to see things in like a holistic sense as well, because Micmac people are very spiritual people. We try our best to look at things from they call it Edwaptamunk, and Mi'kmaq means two-eyed seeing. One eye Mi'kmaq, one eye settler. But I like to say one eye Mi'kmaq, one eye Agalasio. But I'm digressing again. I really just want to hear what goes on in... Oh, my guest left. Her power went out. So we'll just wait. I'm talking about Qalipu Pretendianism. I might as well keep on going. With my nation, we have 100,000 Agalasio Nufis lying about being Micmac. Even though the Grand Council in 2013 stated in a letter to the United Nations declaring that we did not know any of those Qalipu Newfoundlanders. And we assert that only Micmac define who is Micmac. Canada does not define who is Micmac. And sorry, I'm just trying to wait for our friend here, because we're talking about Tainoism, but I could talk about Qalipu Pretendianism while we wait. Because it all intersects, like even in Newfoundland right now, it's the Nufi Tukavuts and the Qalipu. I noticed there's a lot of intersections with the Federation of Newfoundland Indians, because what's this Newfoundland and Labrador Métis Association? There's no Métis in Newfoundland or anywhere east of the Red River. I'm going to say that out loud. But anyways, is there any questions while we wait for Tanya to come back? Her power just went out. And now, like, do I have to talk about Qalipu now? Because that's only, I only know how to talk about Qalipu. But I do know some stuff. Oh, hi Gianna. Oh, she's back. Okay, good. I was scared. I was like, oh my God. I was getting stage fright. I was like, do I have to talk about Qalipu? And is the power going to go back on over there? Okay, let me try to invite guests. Invitation sent. Okay. If I had a TV show, it'd be super res. It'd be just like this, it'd be improvised. And Scotty, you're on live TV. Oh. Anyways. Back to the show. Yes, we just had a little Qalipu Pretendian intercession. It's very wrong, because it does an injustice to the Métis Nation. Did you get the invitation, Tanya? Yes.
Hello.
Yes, you're back. I was like, oh, I have to improvise, so I just talked about Qalipu Pretendians right quick. I reverted to what I know.
It's okay.
I was like, oh no, what do I know? What do I know? Back to the main event.
Yay. It's just a little, boop. Now we're back. So, yeah, Taino.
Yes. I don't want to take over. I feel like, yeah, we heard enough about Qalipu. We want to know about the Taino. That's the main event of Canada right now. We want to see what's going on the other side of the veil.
Ooh, Lordy. And it is quite a dismantling of that veil. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Let's go look into this phenomena. You have no idea how hilarious it actually is.
I even got like crystals in the eyes. Actually,
Oh my
they're
gosh.
pectites actually. Libyan desert glass and then a Moldavite. I don't trust myself to take them outside the house, so I just leave them in the skull's eyes.
Perfect. When I was like, I don't know, I was like pretty deep into Taino, and I had a fobuela. I call them fobuelas,
Oh,
because they're fake abuelas, right? So I call them fobuelas.
like it's like a fake like a pretending elder in Canada.
Exactly, like a pretendian elder. And so I call it fobuela, and the fobuela was like, one of your destinies in life is to go collect all the crystal skulls from a rich Jewish woman. I know. So you bringing that out, I was like, oh my God, you have no idea.
Because people are very powerful people, but our magic is humor based, so everything we do is funny. Nothing deep and spiritual about us. It's just everything's a laugh.
It tripped me. I was like, oh my gosh, how does he know?
I didn't even know. I knew nothing.
Oh my God. I mean, when she said that, when that footballer said that, I was like, what? Like, I'm supposed to like go to, like, how am I supposed to find this woman?
I'm like, you
It
can't
was
take this one.
Yeah, I know. It was like, apparently the story goes, the legend goes is that this rich Jewish woman went to Peru and took all the crystal skulls, and now she has them and she uses them for purposes. And it was my job to seek her out and to recover them for the Taino people. I mean, like legit. I mean, that was towards like the end of my Taino,
Wow.
being a Taino, and so I was like, the more a person's involved with Taino, especially with the Fubuela that I was with. Oh my God, she makes up the best stories. Her storytelling was significant. It was pretendian prose for the best of them. I mean, she was old school. She's like in her 70s, so she knows how to do all those things. All the new age, fobuelas and pretendian, faux
They learned in the
elders.
60s. They learned because that's when the Indians were allowed to practice spirituality
Exactly.
again. And then the settlers, the Agalacios, seen that and they're like, oh, let's do it because they're doing it.
Yeah, that's exactly
That's
what it
my
is.
interpretation of the hippie movement. I don't like the hippie movement. It kind of messed us up as a nation, as a people, as I guess Canadian and American society.
Yeah, the hippie movement, one of the things that, because I did that, I've been studying how all of this has been, you know, became a thing really, and the hippie movement was a huge part of it. It was massive, especially in after ERFA happened and all of the hippies got kicked out of native ceremonies. ERFA is the American Indian Religious Freedom Act, and that was passed in 1978. And so all these people who were going in there as like white saviors for native people to practice their ceremonies without persecution. Now all of a sudden we're like not invited to ceremonies. And so they like branched off and became shamans and stuff like that. Native, with these native, and then, oh, this Native American taught me how to do vision quests and things like this. So you got like whole 40-year-old people who like just, have like an affinity for native whatever, or like going on a vision quests and coming back enlightened because they spoke with Buddha. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like that whole.
The real Indians in Canada and America are fastness because we're so poor, like we can't afford food.
Oh man, that's heavy.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's hard to see. Like, I don't know. I get it. I get Aglacio. Like, they want to find an outlet, like to feel safe, because I get people don't want to be in the churches anymore.
Right.
But there should be like that whole idea of closed practice, and even when Blackhawk said like Buffy was like professionally through the hippie movement, and I heard too Buffy learned how to play Indian in Toronto like everyone else, and
Mm.
even then like the whole hippie shaman thing, like I got like I'm getting word that this Sean Leonard, this so-called Micmac psychic that's all over TV, he may not even be Micmac.
Oh gosh.
And I never looked into him because, like, I was busy with other things. And then now that, I have the time to look at him, and people from Millbrook are saying, we don't know him. And now it's like, okay, we got to figure out who his parents are. I know I'm saying this right now on TikTok Live. I don't really care because it's going to happen. We know he's not a band member of Millbrook, and that's another red flag that he isn't. So is he going to be genuous with us? How you say genuous? How you say that? Is he going to be genuine? Genuine? Is he going to be genuine with us and say, oh, yeah, we're disenfranchised? Like, no, we're enfranchised, like we call in Canada, enfranchised in the Canadian society. So we're, like, oh, me, my mom was Bill C-31. Okay, we understand that, like, or like their grandmother lost status, or grandfather lost status. We'll understand that. But just to jump into our nation and grift us, and then be a psychic medium on top of it, like, holy, like, oh, it's a lot.
That's spiritual capitalism, and then exploiting people for their, for people's culture. Like that's pretty much what Tainoists recruit are like the spiritual side of folks or entrepreneurs, like identity entrepreneurs. I've heard somebody say that I thought was really great
That's a good word.
description of it. The Taino is it's a government program, man. I mean, like there was no Taino lived in academia, and it was first coined as a language. There was a reference to Taino in a book that said that it's 1530, but it was actually 1600. So it was written, and it was attributed to a guy that lived before the book from 1530 was around. I mean, so there's been a convoluted, and these are all books written by people who were never in the Antilles either. They were written to describe the Spanish in a negative light. So a lot of the stuff that's in those books don't even match actual historic events. So you can't really take a gossip book and go, oh, well, all of these things happen when you've got documentation that directly refute it. But Taino came in 1836 and lived in academia, and then the Smithsonian picked it up in 1904, and then decided to label all the artifacts Taino. And then in the mid 1900s, 1950s, 60s, Taino started to be a replacement or part of a pacification program in the island of Puerto Rico by the government, but in relation with the American government and the Puerto Rican government, with a program called Operation Serenity that was led by DVEDCO, the Division of Education de la Comunidad, which is the basically just community development. And you all know about community development in Canada.
We call it nonprofits, just the whole the NGOs. They take all the capacity funding from real Indians.
Yeah. Well, this community development program in Puerto Rico was created to psychologically manipulate Puerto Ricans, to Americanize them, so they wouldn't be proud of their indigenous and Spanish roots. And so the people who carried on indigenous lifeways in Puerto Rico are Jibaro or Indian.
Ibaro?
Jibaro, right? Jibar.
Oh, I have a hard time rolling my R's.
And Jibaro and Indios. And Jibaro, the identity of Jibaro, or the legacy of Jibaro, was shamed through movies that Duvedco, what led the community development program, made by using people in the island. So people will go see these movies to see if they could see their cousins or whatever in it. I mean, Puerto Rico is 110 miles long and 35 miles wide. If there's a movie going to be on there and you see that there's locals, you're going to go to the movie to see if you could see a cousin or, your auntie, whatever,
Like Toronto for our people.
Yeah. And so then in 1967 is when the word Taino went public, island wide, and then by the 70s, along with AIRFA and all of that stuff with the hippie movement, Taino started to become an identity, a native identity, and it was Native American identity. And the founders of Tainoism were like shamans and infiltrating Native communities as a Native American Taino. And so then there, a prophecy was written. People started to like dress up in certain ways, and then it snowballed again, and now it's in the political systems. We've got Tainos who weaponize proclamations. If you go to your municipality and you say, hey, I want a proclamation that says May 17th is Scotty Day. And
for the Canadian audience, what is a proclamation in America?
Yeah, that's what I'm sharing. I'm sharing that, like, if you wanted to go to your municipality and say, hey, I want May 17th to be Scotty Day because of the contributions that I've made in my community. And then they go, oh, okay, yeah, we see your contributions. It's cool. And then they just declare May 17th Scotty Day, right? So now Tainoists are going, oh, we're state recognized.
Scotty Day. Today will be Scotty Day.
Right? Well, I mean, like, that would be, can you imagine if you were like, okay, so I get this proclamation and now you go around telling everybody that the state recognizes you as Scotty, as the Scotty tribe.
And then because, like, I'm a Canadian Indian, recognized under the Indian Act, 1985, it's like, for me, a proclamation is something royal. I'm like, only the king can make a proclamation I'm talking through a British Commonwealth state of mind. So that's why I'm like, it's interesting how they weaponize stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's reserved for head of states.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing how the grift is so deep that it's easy to do that. I mean, it's decades of information, just like massive amounts of information written by Tainoists about Tainoism to reinforce the Taino concept. It's about 3 decades of that. And so, anybody that looks up Taino at a surface level will see things that reinforce the Taino concept. But if you go a little bit deeper, you'll begin to see that there's stuff that actually refutes it. And so that's why I created the website, TainoLeadershipSummit.com, and put an archive on there, because one of the things that Tainos love to do is suppress information. And so I wanted to have a place where all of the information that refutes Tainoism is in one place that people can go to and refer to. Scholars can go to it, academics can go to it, seekers can go to it, people who are legitimate Native, people like yourself can go to it, and your leadership can go to it and see that Taino is not what it presents itself to be, and that's vitally important. It's also one of the biggest threats to Tainoism is truth, and so when you put truth out there, they freak out.
I
So
noticed like Pretendians' biggest fear is when you show truth to their face, and then they're just like right away they're just like deer in headlights.
yeah, that's it's like it's definitely one of those things that they don't know how to handle is the truth, because then the grift is up, and they can't manipulate people anymore if people know the manipulation. So yeah, it's a whole thing. I was a Taino for a while, and then I woke up when I realized I could be Taino one day and not be Taino next week.
That's another point too. I like that. I like the fact that you admit that you were under the brainwashing of Tainoism, and then, like you said, you realize one day you could be Taino, and next day you wake up you're not. And
Hmm.
to me, that's so interesting. And I talk to people who are former pretendians who have been in organized pretendianism spaces, and it's interesting to see the the level of perception you guys have towards the people, because you guys know how they talk, you guys know how they think, you guys literally did all like the underwork while the figureheads took the lead. What I'm
Hmm.
noticing, and I hope more people will wake up against the harms of pretendianism. Like there's no shame in being a settler. Like I'm proud of being a settler descendant from 1700s. It makes me so proud. Like, and I'm proud of my Scottish ancestors as well. I'm proud of my English ancestors. I'm proud of my Micmac ancestors, and I'm even 1/8 Malisit, and I'm proud of that. But I'm not Malisit. I'm not Basque. I'm not English. I'm not Scottish. I'm just Micmac because nobody wants to claim me. And legally, I'm not even a Canadian citizen under Indian Act 1985. Like, to be enfranchised into Canadian society is to like be a Canadian citizen, and I'm not enfranchised. I'm still technically a Micmac unceded Indian that's defined under Canadian and international law. Like, it's weird in Canada we have a whole like it's literal apartheid when I explain it. And so, like, when I look, I don't know, I envy American Indians. I'll say that out loud because they get to decide who gets citizenship. But I know there's some requirements like BQ and stuff. But it's just there's envy there because Ottawa, the federal government dictates who is Indian in Canada. But yeah, that's the lens that we have in Canada. So it's hard for us to really, and none of us were allowed to get really an education until 1985, until the big amendment. Like, if you were getting an education, you would be ipso facto enfranchised into Canadian society, meaning you were no longer an Indian. You couldn't even become a doctor. You couldn't even marry, like, Native women, like Indian status pre 1985. If they married a non-Indigenous person, they were enfranchised into Canadian society, meaning they were no longer a status Indian. But that was amended in 1985. There's still a lot of, yeah. It's just, I don't know why Canada gets involved in who is Indigenous when we're in this mess because of them. And so it's hard to see other people claim to be something when in Canada it's literally legislated. Like, my whole existence is political.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's our apartheid up in Canada. It's hard to talk about because, like, Canadian, like in America, they just want to shut us up. They're like, oh no, you guys get everything, but in reality, now all the pretendians are getting everything. We don't get nothing. Like, yeah, there's a lot of money being channeled into Mi'kma'ki, but it's all going to Newfoundland. And they're not Section 35 right holders, which means they're not, I guess, federally recognized equivalent in the states. But they're still accessing, I guess, quote unquote, federally recognized rights. Like, I guess it's like Vermont Abenaki access in like American Indian funds. It's like that, yeah. But so yeah, I have a deep understanding of citizenship, and I understand nationhood because of this, because of my struggle as a Micmac Indian and of not being able to decide. None of us get to decide, really. Canada does, and that's why I am a pretendian hunter, because I want to take Canada down for what they did to us. And with that being said, I want to know more about your experience as a Taino when you were under the, I guess, government sanctioned brainwashing, is the best way to put it.
Well, the government program that created Tainos, the foundation of the claim of a Taino identity, the framework of Tainoism was built by a few people in the late 70s and the early 80s. And so those are kind of like the gurus, the you know, the CULT leaders.
That's like Calvin White for the Qalipu Pretendians in Newfoundland. I'm like linking the two. And, oh God, it's interesting.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of parallels with Tainoism and well-known pretendian organizations. I like to say that Taino is a conglomerate of nonprofits who identify their members as Taino. And I think that that pretty much sums it up, because people become Taino. They're not born into being Taino. Like, one of the things that really is disturbing about Tainoism is how people retroactively impose a Taino identity on their ancestors. So you got people who don't even know what a Taino is. Now all of a sudden they go, oh, look at my Taino grandmother, great grandmother, and then they have pictures of them from like the 60s or the 50s. And it's like, why are you trying to colonize your family? Like, why are you trying to impose this identity they never even knew, they never even heard of, onto your family? There's something very disturbing about that.
It's dishonors their legacy, because like, how are we going to honor our ancestors if we don't label them the right identity and nationality they had while they were walking on this earth?
Right. Like, dishonest is a really good word for it, and especially because they'll take that picture and they'll say, oh, look, here's my great grandmother. Doesn't she look Taino? And then go, that's proof, because look at her cheekbones. Look at her hair.
Oh my God.
I'm serious. Like,
let's look at the family trees, guys. Let's stick to the church records.
Exactly.
I'm a Catholic, I understand that part.
Exactly.
We're documented by the church.
And people go, there's this thing called paper genocide that Tainos have picked up, right? And from Native American, from Indian country. Oh, Tainos have paper genocide. And it's like, no, hold on a second. The Spanish kept impeccable records. There was records in the island and records that had to be sent to Spain. There were dual records for 400 years because Spain needed to know what was happening in its island, Puerto Rico. And so the idea...
Who needed to know who was related, because nobody was allowed to marry pre-third cousins unless the church allowed them.
Everything, all of that, right? Like, all of that. And so like the idea that there was a paper genocide is so ridiculous to me because it's like the there's records of people all the way to first contact, and so that to me is bizarre. But the paper genocide, the real paper genocide, is Tainos imposing retroactively an identity that never existed in our island in the first place, historically, that can go beyond 1967. There's nothing that says that Taino is the legitimate indigenous identity beyond 1967 in the island of Puerto Rico. In that excerpt that I was talking with you about, the line in there says Taino is the name of a man. It's not a community, not a people, not a place, not a nation, not a tribe. It's a dude's name. And so and so how are you going to go from a dude's name to a whole tribe in 500 years? Or it was actually 1600, so it wasn't that, 500 years. But anyways, I digress. That's, that the co-opting of native trauma that Tainoism is so well adept at doing, things like paper genocide, Indian boarding schools, residential schools. Tainoists go, oh, well, we had Tainos go to India. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't have time. No, America went over to Puerto Rico, picked up some Puerto Rican kids whose parents sent them there on scholarships, and they went as Puerto Ricans, not as Taino, as Puerto Ricans, and they can go back home whenever they wanted. If their parents had come back home, that didn't happen with Native people. That didn't happen for people who were scooped. That didn't happen. That kind of trauma did not happen in Puerto Rico. So, I mean, there's a lot of reprehensible trauma theft that Tainos do to present themselves as this native identity where people feel sorry for them because they lost all their culture. Well, how are you going to be Taino if you lost all your culture? Well, they take from everybody to make their own. So it's not even traditional anyways. It's just
Very pan-indigenous.
pan-indigenous.
Not a red flag for pretendianism if it's focused on the pan-indigenous narrative rather than their own nation.
Oh, yeah. It's, and putting people into nations to take as much from that nation and then repackage it as Taino. So, like, people
Just
will
like
go.
when I seen the punta and I was like, ooh,
Uh-huh.
like, Garifuna would slap me if I did that, like, without their permission. Because that's like a maiden dance for them. It's very like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like from an anthropological lens, you have to respect it. You don't mock it. That's
Yeah.
my observations. I like to observe and I guess compare. Yes, compare and contrast. Is that how you say it in English?
Mm.
And another thing, pretendians are so good at co-opted movements. They're so good at like, you see it a lot like with in Newfoundland, for example. I love to talk about the Hollywoos. Like the Acadian French co-opted the the Indian Newfoundland movement, and because the Conne River Micmacs were protesting so they could be recognized. They wanted a reserve. They were being ignored. So the Acadian white settlers were like, "Hey, I'm Métis too. I'm Micmac." It's so disgusting. And they co-opted the movement. They groomed Conne River, like to the point Michel Joe, their chief or old chief now, is so brainwashed that he believes Métis are outside of the Red River. And I had to educate myself because Nova Scotia, where I live, is so bad with Eastern Woodland Pretendians. Oh, and I even got fired from my job in academia because I spoke out against a Eastern Woodland Métis Pretendian, even though he was only a security guard. That's how powerful these Pretendians are. They just talk to their boss, and the boss talks to to the vice president, and then the vice president just plays games with you. This is why I understand academia. It's because I know how pretendians weaponize even academia against people like me and even professors. I can't imagine like having to be civil with these kind of people who are literally lying to your face. It's like I digress. At least you're understanding where I'm coming from with my pretendians. It's so bad in Eastern Canada because like everybody and their mom wants to be a Micmac, even though like when I was little, I'm 32 years old. Nobody wanted to be Micmac. You know, like we were the untouchables, and we're in the British Empire, so it makes more sense to call us untouchables. And then now all of a sudden, like everybody wants to touch us because it's profitable.
I have a question.
Yes.
And I have to get going in like 10 minutes because of our situation in here. But I've heard Micmac and Micmac.
They're the same. I use Micmac because people try to use Micmac as derogatory. It's my way of saying it first before they can, and I get people saying, you're saying it wrong. And I'm like, well, in the treaties, we're referred to as Micmacs and Cape Sable Indian. So that's what I'm going to go by right now because people want to be so politically correct. I'll show them that, you know, it doesn't get us anywhere.
Oh, okay. I understand now. Thank you for clearing that up because
yeah, but I'm a Mi'kmaq. Realistically, I'm Omno because I'm Wabanaki.
Okay.
Yep. Wabanaki is like there's 5 nations. We're part of a confederacy. There's us. There's the Woolstook, the Maliseets, the Passamaquoddy, Penobscot, and Abenaki. That's why with the Vermont Abenaki is kind of personal for me because I feel bad for my Abenaki siblings because we share creation stories where people have to dawn. But I'm trying to see if I have any questions for you. I know it's like your product can go anytime.
Well, it's out already. I mean, so I just went on data. So that's why I'm like, I gotta wrap pretty quick so that I can save battery.
Oh, yes.
I really appreciate this time here with you, and let's do another one in different circumstances.
Yeah, we'll make sure that there's no winter storm. We'll make sure
winter storm.
We'll make sure that we'll have power. And I think TikTok is acting weird too.
Well, it just got took over right now with the Americans just took it over, and so I think it's going to be a little weird for a second.
Yeah, my statistics all say District of Columbia, and in Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, British. I'm like, who are these people? Why are they watching me? You know? I don't mind Greenland, New Zealand, Australia. I'm used to those kind of people watching me, but like seeing District of Columbia, I'm like, ooh, get away from me. Like,
well, I mean, go ahead.
Like, you know, I'm a British Indian. You know, I want to see London on my statistics, not District of Columbia. I want to see real sovereignty. I don't want to see make believe sovereignty. No offense, America.
Oh my God, you're hilarious! This is awesome. I really appreciate this.
Appreciate you. Thank you. It's like it's enlightening to know that there's people in each category of flavor of pretendians. You know, there's somebody like me that's causing trouble everywhere. So it's good to see.
Yeah, I mean, the Tainos are vicious, man. Like they go after people, and it's just incredibly vicious, which is essentially a red flag. Because I don't see like Lakota people going after people all vicious like that because they're completely secure in their truth. There's documentation to back up their tribal,
Me, they call me white. Pretendians call me white, and I just tell them that's a compliment. Like nobody ever called me white in my life until I came on TikTok. Like I told the pharmacist the other day. I was like, oh my god, people on the internet are saying I'm white. I'm like, and they're laughing. I'm like, you're far from white, Scotty. I'm like, I know. My cheekbones can cut. Like I can't even. I don't wear glasses because it'll just pop off. You know. I try to stay stoic because so that's stressful. See, you know, that's my Wabanaki check. The check.
Right?
You know, and even like I know the Cree, they have ears. They have special ears they can hear. You know, all our nations we have these like signatures. You know, these genetic signatures that signify we are part of that nation. And you know, I don't know why it was so hard to be like. I would be proud to be Spanish. Like, oh yeah, my grandmother was from Spain. I would be like, let's go get that Spanish passport. Hell yeah, you know, to get EU access. That's like the dream.
Well, the Americans have done a really good job at diminishing our Spanish heritage to the extent where Tainoists are groomed in hating their Spanish heritage. And
No, it's
America,
beautiful. I've been to Tenerife a million times. I've been to Basque
yeah.
Country. I've been to like I've been to Seville. I've been like up and down that Spanish coast and like and I feel like I like because like you know I'm 1/5 you know Basque you know and I feel connected but I'm not Basque you know it's like you know I feel it in my bones. I know I sound like a pretendian, but like I don't go and be like oh I'm a Basque. I'm going to run with the bulls and you know I'm like no thank you like I know I'm still an Indian. I know my place.
Yeah, that's you know, you mentioned something that's really important. You're very secure in your identity, and people in the Caribbean diaspora are in this position of, you know, being a lot of being born in America, but yet still culturally connected to our roots in the Caribbean and are told that the Spanish were horrible people. You know, look at how Christopher Columbus is portrayed. If you look at the words that are used to portray Christopher Columbus, whose name is Cristobal Colon, if you look at those words, he was a murderer. He was, you know, great. You know, all.
Oh, cut enough. I think her phone died.
Okay, there you
Oh,
go.
wait, you're back. You're there. Okay, you're still here.
Okay, yeah, and if you look at all those different things, and you look at how the Latino migrants are being portrayed, they're murderers, or you know, rapists, they're you know, all of the criminals, you know, all of the different things, and that is to keep like you know, in the people in this country marginalized, and so of course the race shift is going to be out of Latinidad, right? Or embracing our culture that is a big part of Latinidad and becoming Native American. And and people are doing it and they, you know, I mean, I was one, I thought that it was something that I could do because I'm Puerto Rican and I was a Taino and you know, it was my right to claim this long distant ancestry that I believed and I was sold and told that it was mine and I deserved to claim at the expense of anybody who questioned. And so that's you know, a lot of people will see that and go, yeah, you know, you can claim it. It's your right of self-determination to claim this identity. When in reality, self-determination is political, it's tribal, it's not individual.
And
And
you have to qualify for like Montevideo in 1933, what defines statehood, and the four requirements: government, population, territory, and I forgot what the last one is. But you know, there's and then sovereign indigenous nations in Canada, United States, all qualify for the four qualifications for statehood under international law. That's what makes us sovereign.
yeah, Taino nonprofits do not have that.
Because they don't have a government, they don't have a territory, and they don't have a yeah population.
Exactly. I mean, like, look, there's no Taino flower. There's no Taino Bay. There's no Taino Beach. I mean, there is, but it was named in the 90s. There's no Taino Mountain. there's no Taino, you know, this is a Taino coconut. You know, like there's nothing that exists like that. There's no Taino cove that the Spanish wrote on any of their maps. There's nothing like that. There's nothing to indicate that Taino existed in the time that Tainos claim that they exist. But we do have documentation that says exactly when Taino came about. And and for what, as a language in Haiti, to describe the Creole, the pidgin in Haiti in 1836. Taino was used to describe it. Even Arawak. The word Arawak was used to describe a language, a lingua franca of many different tribes in like Guyana and Suriname and stuff like that aren't even in the Greater Antilles. And so it's just this language that was for that specific region called Arawak, the Arawak language. And now that people are like, oh, I identify as Arawak. It's like, what, you identify as a language? You're a language. Okay, like, no, you're not a language. Like, you're like, either you're Puerto Rican or you're like pretending to be something else, and that's the root of it. Either you're, Dominican Republic or you're, pretending to be something else.
Like, it makes you think who's going to be their next big figurehead too, because usually they launch one of their biggest figureheads in their pretending scam. I see it in Canada. Like, they'll have somebody. I hope they don't try to race shift Bad Bunny.
I think Bad Bunny, I don't know. He might be. He kind of stays away from that kind of stuff. I think maybe he's a bit more aware of these things.
I hope they're educated in Hollywood. I don't know how those weirdos act, but sorry, I don't care for celebrities.
No, you're good.
My celebrities are Indians and elders.
Right? There was a recent Finding Your Roots, and there's one of the chefs in that show, Bear, was on there, and I believe maybe her mother may have thought that there was some indigenous, in there, but they found out that they're pretty much African, and so she said these words. My mom's whole world is pretty much going to be devastated. And I was like, wow, they were probably looking for an indigenous ancestor and found African, and it messed them up. So, I mean,
that's something to be proud of,
Exactly.
For example, in my nation, the Micmacs, there's family called the Johnsons. All the Johnsons are descendant of a African slave who the Micmacs freed. We didn't know. We freed people because only people who lived with us wanted to survive. And and this man survived, and now there's genetic marker on this family because of it, and it's beautiful, and it shows that it's not all about blood quantum. It's about continued existence as a nation, as a people. That's what we're talking about. That's my definition of indigeneity, is that being inherently indigenous.
Yeah, DNA is not proof of tribal existence. It's proof of artifacts, genetic artifacts that carry on through time.
Can you imagine, like tomorrow, I say I am a Mountbatten Windsor, and I declare I'm second in line to the throne, and nobody can argue with me because that's who I identify as now. I am now Scott Mountbatten Windsor, and I'm going to be the king when Charles dies. Isn't that crazy that sounds? That's what Pretendians sound like to me. Like, they're inserting themselves in the British royal family. Can you imagine? Because when people insert themselves into our nations, you're inserting yourself into our sovereign and unceded nation. Sovereign, royal, hello, power, hello. Like, people don't understand like of why Canada and America tiptoes around us Indians. And these pretendians don't understand that. Like, it's political. They don't realize it's political in that sense. That they're walking on eggshells because their whole fabric of their countries is a lie. Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, that's, you can tell that Canada's stresses me out. I had literally, I'm not even joking. I looked at my story this morning on Instagram. The premier of New Brunswick, Susan Holt, was in my story. Looking at my Instagram story. I'm not even lying. I'll send it to you after we get off the live.
Congratulations! It's big.
It's annoying. I want to see Indians creep me. I don't want to see Aglasio politicians nosing me. That makes me weirded out.
Well, that means that you're influencing policy and change within.
I hope so, because I don't want them to exist anymore. That's what I want to influence. Like, I'm legit about land back. I'm legit about title back. But I only can speak for my nation. I'm not going to force anybody else to do what they want. If they want to stay with Canada, they can. I don't want. But I'm forcing my people out of this union legally. That's why I understand, about international law, and you have to be a smart Indian to deal with these type of people.
It's important.
Because, like, to me, it's infringement on Indigenous sovereignty because it goes to citizenship. And like I mentioned, like in the beginning of the live, like Canadian Indians don't have say at who's a part of our nations legally. It's Indian affairs, Indigenous affairs, Canada, that says who's Indian and who's not.
Wow. So how frustrating must it be for you guys to see a Canadian Indian, to see a nonprofit come up and be like, yo, I'm Native. Like, that must just absolutely be infuriating.
It's so hard for, it's not just my nation. It's like the Inuit, or the Inuit. Sorry, I got to say them right. They're dealing with this too. They have like the Nunatukuva Community Council, like same nonprofit grift. My nation has the Qalipu Pretendians, that turned into something weird. And then in 2011, and then we have MNO in Ontario, and then the Vermont Abenaki, the states that, because we're in Canada, we can't say nothing to America. It's weird. It's just a lot of they take advantage of us, and like you said, they co-opt our just making me do a puzzle. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I was like, did it pause? Like, there's
no.
I'm like,
but I do have to get going. I want to do another live with you, and I want to be more
organized.
Yeah, and be more present. And I love that we're talking about this. And please, self-care, because I know Tainoists will more than likely come after this live in different ways. And so
I know that's why I made sure I made my pretty face so people can see me, because
Bella linda.
I want them to see who they're dealing with.
Let me see if I could do my face real quick. Hi.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
All right. So, it was good to talk with you. I gotta get going. I gotta save as much power as I can.
Yeah, because in the emergency, I know, like, I get it's hard when you get a power off. Like, imagine me, I'm in Canada. We're so used to this.
Right?
That's why I'm like not even sweating. Oh, a winter storm. I don't even care. You guys are like, ah!
I know we're in the South, so it's, we gotta conserve.
Yes, you take care. It was nice to talk to you. And
nice to talk with you.
On the live too. This is new for me. This is like my second live I had.
Wow. Well, it's a good one. You got a good one.
Thank you so much. We'll see where this goes.
All right, fabulous. Thank you.
See you. Thank you. How do I end this?
I think you just flip it up.
Okay. I think I see the button. Oh, there it is.